Hey Space Engineers, it's Agent Luke here with the version 0.2.11 update for Mother OS. I've got a lot of bug fixes in this one. This has been a huge code-based refactor to separate the core modules from the extension modules. But I've also been able to add in some new commands that support the cockpit. So you'll be able to access your handbrakes and your dampeners. And you'll also have access to the hooks. So you'll be able to leverage when a cockpit is occupied and when it is empty. Let's take a look at some of these features. We've been able to print to screens now for a while, but of course we have not been able to use new lines. And when you get new lines involved with your prints, suddenly you're able to have different messages on the screen at the same time, right? So let's imagine we have our test screen here and we want to print some data to it, right? So we're going to find our mother. We're going to go down to where we're entering our arguments, and this is the screen print command. So we're just going to start simple. We're going to go screen print, and we know that was our test screen. And we're just going to print hello world. And we'll use double quotations because we have a space. There we go. So we see it's printed there. Now that's cool. Now, of course, we know that we can also give it a color. So let's make our text green for this instance. So we are just going to add an option for color. We're going to set that equal to green. And we'll see that the text has changed color. And if we take that one step further, we can probably also add our new lines. So let's do that. We'll find it here. And all we need to do is do the very common \n character. And that's going to insert a new line into our string. And so you'll see right behind us, we've now inserted a new line. And so if we want to take that and make it a little bit more useful, perhaps we're in an airlock. Well, if the airlock is secure, why don't we type clear, new line, and enter now. And suddenly you have a very clear printout message that can contextualize for the user or for the player that's looking at the screen. So I'm pretty happy to get this one out. I think it's going to really bring screens to life and let players print things dynamically to screens based on the processes they're running with Mother. One of the other issues we were having was connectors not unlocking correctly in some situations. And so I'm happy to say I've patched that bug, and now we can see this ship, in fact, is completely run by Mother. There are no timers or event blocks on this ship. And if we hit the P button to disconnect our connector, we will quickly see our ship is completely turned on and ready to go. And of course, if we come down and we dock with this connector, we will notice very quickly when we park, our systems turn off. Thrusters are off, our lights are also off. And one more time, if we unpark, we'll see these things turn on. So that's fixed now, and that should work as expected. Now we also have a bunch of hooks available to us in our cockpit. So let's take a look at that. So first thing I'm going to do is undock. That way we can just clear up our grid terminal system so we only have the lights we care about. And what we really care about in this scenario, we're just going to target our lights front to show our cockpit hook, right? So we're going to copy the name of that group, and then we're going to go to our cockpit. We're going to go into our custom data, and right here where we see the block on, we're going to turn our lights on the front. And that is to say, when we get into our cockpit, we want our front lights to turn on. This isn't super practical. Perhaps you want your stuff to turn on when you undock, but of course, I'm putting the batteries in here as well. And this is an important thing to note because the programmable block does some interesting things during a disconnect when it doesn't have power. So what I'm essentially ensuring here is that anytime a player jumps into a cockpit and is prepared to fly a ship, we're going to turn the batteries on auto. And that just ensures that when we do disconnect the connector, the programmable block has battery power immediately. And it's able to run the follow-on automations. So let's hit OK. Let's make sure that our Mother is refreshed. Okay, and now we're going to go down, we're going to park, and we expect nothing to happen except everything turning off, part of the parking automation. But now, let's jump into our cockpit, and we should see these front lights turn on. And of course they did. So that is the on-occupied and on-unoccupied. Let's take it finally one more step. Let's turn those lights off. Whoops. There we go. So now that is to say, when we get into the cockpit, our lights turn on. And when we get out of the cockpit, our lights turn off. On, off. And that's about as easy as it gets, guys. So we now have hooks on cockpits, connectors, landing gear, a lot of the blocks that you would consider to be triggers. And I'm hoping to expand out a few more. I noticed that pistons have the ability to fire events when they get extended or retracted, which would be pretty cool to get hooks into pistons themselves. I think we can really start to leverage some cool automation when we think about what to do when a piston is at its destination or has retracted from its destination. So I'll explore that further in a future update. But the final thing I want to show off is the capability of the new cockpit commands. So we'll look at dampeners first. And so normally you'll use the Z button to turn your dampeners on off. We can see that on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. Nothing's going to happen now. We are docked, but to prove our point, we do see that that's happening. Now, what Mother can do is find the main cockpit on your grid and run this command against it. We don't actually have to provide a cockpit. We can if we want, but I would say in most cases it's redundant. So we'll turn those dampeners back on, and I'm actually going to show you how we can turn that on and off. So we're going to go to our Mother. We are going to just do a quick recompile, because why not? And all we're going to do is go dampeners / off. And that's going to turn the dampeners on our ship off, and we'll notice they're now off in the bottom left-hand side of the screen here. And we will go back to our Mother, and we will just show the opposite of that, which is dampeners on. Triggered, and you'll notice, boom, our dampeners are now on. And so that's a really handy way to hook in thrust dampeners into your automations. And we've got a similar capability for handbrakes. So we're going to have to jump down into one of the Rovers, and I can show you how that works as well. So I'll see you there. Okay, so here we are inside of Goose. This is actually one of the first Rovers I ever built, starting in this play file, and he's been parked for probably a couple hundred hours. So it was nice to brush the dust off and start playing around with Rovers again. I know that some of the guys in the Discord channel have been chatting about capabilities with Rovers, and so I am exploring that further. But for now, handbrakes will be where we start. So let's look at how that works as well. So for this one, we're actually going to use commands on the toolbar. So I'm going to start a new toolbar on toolbar 2, and it should be easy to find Mother here, and in fact it is. So we're going to pull Mother down, and we're going to run a command. And this one is just going to be handbrake on. I think we'll just call it BRK on. And this one will be handbrake off. Just like our dampeners, we're going to see the very same kind of paradigm apply. BRK off. And then when we press 1, we'll notice our handbrake is now on. And when we press 2, we'll notice our handbrake is now off. And this is easily tied into Mother's automation, just like every other command that you can find. And these are associated with the cockpit for now. I think down the road, these will be a flight control system or something similar that manages these. But for now, just associate them with cockpits. Okay, guys, that concludes the update video for 0.2.11 of Mother OS. I hope these new capabilities and bug fixes help you guys take your automations to the next level. What I'm going to do as part of this version release is also take this speeder in front of you that we saw earlier in the video, the Spiff. It's the first aircraft I ever really made on this server. And I'm going to retrofit this guy in front of us who has not yet received the Mother treatment. So he is still running on event blocks, timer blocks, etc. We don't need those anymore. Mother can do all of this work. So we're going to save some space. We're going to put in a few more batteries to extend our endurance. And we're going to say goodbye to the old way of automating the ship. So I look forward to seeing you in that video. Take care.